Justin Baldoni's lawyer, Brian Friedman, grilled on Blake Lively in contentious interview.
Say with certainty that your client did not harass her?
I can say that with certainty that my client is one of the most honorable people I've ever met.
Hey, gossip lovers. Welcome to Red Tea Asterisk, your daily dose of celebrity drama, juicy scandals, and secrets served extra hot. Let's spill the tea. Justin Baldoni's lawyer just flipped the script on Blake Lively, publicly exposing how she allegedly twisted false claims to ruin his career. The drama just got even messier. Stay tuned for all the details.
That's really a huge win for Justin Baldoni. He sat down and chatted in a new podcast interview. And he had a lot to say and wanted to emphasize that Justin Baldoni is truly a good guy. And that he was not happy with all of the negative press Blake Brown was getting around the release of their movie, It Ends With.
He laid it all out, revealing her behind-the-scenes scheming with the press. This lawsuit kicked off with Lively painting herself as the victim, claiming she was harassed on set. But Baldoni's attorney, Friedman, just detonated a legal bomb that completely shreds her version of events. And Baldoni? He's not playing defense anymore. He's coming out swinging with a jaw-dropping $400 million defamation countersuit. Let's be real. Blake thought she was untouchable, didn't she? She assumed all she had to do was cry harassment, get the New York Times to do the dirty work, and Hollywood would rally behind her. But now, the tables have turned and the drama is reaching new heights.
So even in her own CRD complaint, in her own initial filed complaint, it says that everything was fine from that point on. So now we're really limited to nothing more ultimately than was their smear campaign.
Yes. Okay.
In the CRD complaint and in the first filing of the lawsuit of the Southern District of New York, the allegations in the complaint said once the 17-point list was agreed to, everything from then on was fine. There were no issues.
But here's where she messed up. She got too bold, too reckless. Friedman just exposed how this wasn't some organic outcry. It was a coordinated PR hit job against Baldoni, the New York Times WME, and some of Hollywood's biggest power players. Yeah, they were all in on it, working overtime to cancel Baldoni before he even got a chance to speak. But now it's all unraveling, and guess who's looking shady as hell? New York Times When a high-powered lawyer like Friedman starts dropping receipts, the whole industry pays attention. Suddenly, Blake's PR empire is on the verge of collapse. Friedman blew the lid off the New York Times shady tactics, proving they sat on their hit piece for months, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. And when did they drop it? Oh, just a Friday night on a holiday weekend. They gave Baldoni a generous 15 hours to respond minus 15 whole hours to counter a full-blown, premeditated character assassination. Imagine being this blatantly corrupt while still pretending to be a respected newspaper. The audacity.
Filing of the complaint was done in coordination with the Times. I don't have evidence of that, but I assume that the story was timed to go right when it was filed.
15 hours. A lot of those are sleep hours.
Okay.
For those that sleep, a lot of those are on a holiday weekend on Friday night at 9 o'clock at night.
That is, I will give you that. That is a shady move. If you're working on a story for months and you're giving somebody notice on a Friday night, that's a pretty shady move.
Now let's talk about Blake's most ridiculous move in this entire scandal, the infamous dragon texts Apparently, she's been living in some twisted medieval fantasy where she thinks she's the mother of dragons. Friedman just exposed 170 pages of internal messages showing Blake plotting against Baldoni. And let me tell you, this isn't just manipulation, it's delusion at its finest. She literally called herself Khaleesi Yes, Khaleesi And who were her dragons? Ryan Reynolds and Taylor Swift. She actually convinced herself they were her personal warriors in some fantasy battle against Baldoni. Is this a lawsuit or an HBO spin-off? Because at this point, I can't tell the difference. And here's the best part, Taylor Swift's radio silence. That's right, the same Taylor freaking Swift, who will turn a bad date into a Grammy-winning album, hasn't said a single word about this lawsuit. Why? Because even she knows this is nonsense. Swift famously donated $250,000 to Kesha when she was fighting a real case of abuse. But now, when her supposed best friend is allegedly a victim, crickets. If that doesn't tell you exactly how weak Blake's case is, I don't know what will. Let's talk about WME's downright dirty betrayal of Justin Baldoni, because this is where Hollywood's mask really slips. The industry's behind-the-scenes scheming is being exposed, and it's not a good look for anyone involved.
In that massive upload of documents, Blake leverages her friendship with Taylor Swift against Baldoni. She says, "I'm like Khaleesi, Game of Thrones, and my husband Ryan and my best friend Taylor are my dragons. They inspire me, support me." Wow. Taylor has been silent. Not a peep from Taylor.
WME represented both Baldoni and Blake Lively, but the second this lawsuit dropped, they dumped Baldoni like a bad stock and sprinted straight into the arms of Lively and Ryan Reynolds. And who was pulling the strings? None other than Ari Emanuel, the CEO of WME, a guy who moves Hollywood's chess pieces like he's playing in another dimension. Emanuel didn't just drop Baldoni. He went on a podcast and publicly trashed him, calling him a bad guy while showering Lively and Reynolds with praise like they were Hollywood's golden couple. If this guy were any less subtle, he'd be a full-on Marvel villain. But here's the real joke. Emanuel's fake moral high ground. He had the nerve to say, if the allegations against Baldoni are true, then he's a terrible guy. See that little word if. That's Hollywood speak for asterisk. I don't actually know what's real, but I'll say whatever keeps my pockets full. And we all know why he's siding with Lively and Reynolds, because Ryan Reynolds makes WME a mountain of cash. Baldoni never stood a chance against that kind of money. The second fairness clashed with profits. Baldoni was out. No hesitation, no loyalty, just cold, hard business. And of course, Blake wasn't satisfied with just PR manipulation. She went full smear campaign mode. Fredman just exposed how her PR team, led by Leslie Sloan, worked hand in hand with the New York Times to time their hit piece down to the second. This wasn't just a lawsuit, it was a takedown carefully orchestrated from the very start. The layers of scheming and betrayal in this scandal are almost too wild to believe.
Taylor has been silent. Not a peep from Taylor. You know what I mean? Look, question for the women out there. If you tell your best friend you were sexually harassed by a guy, wouldn't you hope that that dragon would breathe a little fire on that jerk in your defense? Morris's CEO, Ari Emanuel, made it seem like a moral act of loyalty, like that exists in Hollywood. He heaped praise on Ryan and Blake as soulfully beautiful people. Flawless, really.
This was never about truth. It was a straight-up career hit job. And the New York Times they weren't just bystanders. They were full-blown participants. The same paper that claims to be an unbiased news source was caught red-handed orchestrating a takedown while pretending to report the facts. The best part? Baldoni's team is now exploring defamation lawsuits against the New York Times for deliberately wrecking his reputation. Honestly good, because at this point, someone needs to put these media puppets on blast for selling out their credibility to the highest bidder. So what happens next? Is Baldoni backing down? Absolutely not. Fredman made it crystal clear. There will be no settlement unless Baldoni's name is fully cleared. And honestly, I hope he drags Blake, her PR squad, and every complicit media outlet through the legal trenches for as long as it takes. Because if he lets this go, Hollywood learns that people like Blake Lively can destroy a man's career with nothing but a few crocodile tears and a well-timed media ambush. Here's the real kicker. Blake isn't just losing in court, she's losing public support too. She thought she could ride the #MeToo movement straight to victimhood, but now even die-hard Swifties are giving her the side eye. She thought Hollywood would rally behind her, but instead, half the industry is pretending she doesn't even exist. She played the victim, but now her own texts have exposed her as the mastermind behind a calculated smear campaign. That's the cold, hard truth. No matter how many PR games she plays, no matter how many hit pieces she funds, no matter how desperately she clings to the victim card, the receipts are out, and Fredman is making sure everyone sees them. As for Blake, she's learning the hard way that in Hollywood, the truth always finds a way to the surface. At this point, her PR disaster is so chaotic, she might as well hold a press conference in full medieval armor. Since she already thinks she's Khaleesi, why not go all in? But here's the problem. Her whole act is crumbling faster than her credibility, and Justin Baldoni's lawyer, Brian Fredman, is making sure of that. Now let's talk about the absolute legal circus that went down in court on March 6, 2025. Fredman, in what might be the most brilliantly passive-aggressive legal move ever, stood before the judge and politely referred to Blake as an asterisk victim. Asterisk sounds harmless, right? But when pressed to actually define her as an real asterisk victim, he instantly backtracked with, asterisk victim is in the eye of the beholder. Asterisk translation. Blake's entire legal argument is a joke, because here's the thing, if she's really a victim, why is she the one leading a full-scale smear campaign against Baldoni? Last time I checked, actual victims aren't out here pulling PR stunts, weaponizing the media, and strategically leaking texts to destroy someone's career. You're either after justice or revenge. There's no in-between. And Blake? She's all in for revenge. That's exactly why her case is trapped in a shaky legal gray area, one that's even flimsier than her acting range. For months, Lively and her elite squad of PR manipulators have been feeding the world a carefully crafted sob story, painting her as the helpless victim of harassment. But Fredman just tore the mask off and revealed what's really going on. Blake wasn't just part of this industry-wide takedown, she was running the whole show. You can't be the villain asterisk and asterisk the victim. Blake, pick a lane. And it gets even messier because Hollywood has its own rules, and power politics play dirtier than any courtroom battle. Enter Ari Emanuel, CEO of William Morris Endeavor, or as we should probably call it, asterisk WME, Khaleesi edition asterisk. This is the guy who single-handedly decided Baldoni wasn't worth protecting. The second this lawsuit hit, Emanuel made sure Baldoni was kicked to the curb like last season's failed Netflix reboot. And just to make it crystal clear that WME had picked its side, Emanuel went on the Asterisk Freakonomics Asterisk podcast and publicly mocked Baldoni. The same agency that once cashed Baldoni's checks was now throwing him under the bus. But here's the best part. Emanuel then pulled the classic Hollywood PR move, saying, asterisk if the allegations against Baldoni are true, then he's a terrible guy. Asterisk yes, the oldest trick in the book. Pretend your A-list clients are flawless angels while sacrificing the smaller fish. Except here's the joke. Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively aren't exactly scandal-free themselves. Lively's entire career is built on playing rich, morally shady blondes, and Ryan, he's basically turned Deadpool into his whole personality. So tell me again, who's really playing dirty here? Let's not pretend this was ever about morality. Ari Emanuel didn't drop Baldoni because he actually believed Blake Lively's story. He did it because Ryan Reynolds is a billion-dollar asset.